Thank you. Um, so I already told it the other guys, if you have any questions or the talk is boring, just shout in. Like I'm happy to have a discussion as well. We're not that many people. Quick show of hands. Who of you is a security researcher or auditor? 1, 2, 3. Nice, 4 people. Who is a builder who is like getting audits for his project? 1, 2. All right. Okay, so the provocative title of this is 2 reasons why your project is keep getting hacked. But what I want to talk about is there's like some easy incentive problems in Web3 security, and I think we have the tools in Web3 to solve them. So the first problem is really the auditing market, because when you are a young project, the auditing market usually looks like this to you. I don't know if this feels familiar for you, but like like some of the big names like Trail of Bits, Open Zeppelin. Some know Deb.org, which is the auditor of Uniswap, which is they don't even have a real website, but they're like super famous. And so you know that these guys are super good. But then you ask for an auditing slot and they say like, yeah, come back in 4 months and by the way, bring 200K. But the problem is that most projects cannot afford to pay 200K 3 times a year. So it's a really bad situation. So and then below there's a tier 2 and tier 3, and in those tiers there's some really, really good auditors, but some really, really bad auditors as well. And so I'm who's like hanging out on Twitter, hanging out in Telegram all the time. I by now like, okay, this auditor has audited this project, they got hacked afterwards, and like the audit report was a shit show. But like even the builders most of the time don't know. So you can either try to research it a little bit and gamble, but it's really hard to research this, because even if you look on like which projects got hacked and who got they audited by, if the auditor is not on that list, it doesn't mean it's a good auditor, yeah? So, and so the third thing is you are lucky somehow and you know someone who knows good auditors and he recommends you someone and you get an auditor at a reasonable price that is really good. So what we ask ourselves is like, okay, what is the reason and how could we solve this? And why is it so hard to like find the auditor that's a good fit? And so the first problem is there's no risk sharing. So if an auditor is auditing you and you're getting hacked the next day, he will come to you and will say like, well, sorry for your loss, but by the way, we still like got already paid, so like it's not our problem. Maybe there is some reputational damages, but as we see every day, that is not really working well. Like there's some auditors in the market where I think like, how the fuck are they still getting customers? It's insane. So this reputational kind of like self-cleaning of the market does not work really well. Because there's apparently no reputational damage. And yeah, it's hard to verify the track record. Basically, to check if an audit is good, you would need to audit yourself and then prepare, compare the 2 audit reports, or you would need to source 2 audits and then compare them, which like usually you get 1 or 2 audits or even 3, and then you know it afterwards. Yeah, like after you have done through your audit cycle, you know who you want to work with or not next time. But yeah, for a young project, that's a problem. Then we believe there's like 2 solutions to this. One which is coming up recently and we think is a beautiful system. We call it skin in the game auditing. So it's you go to an auditor, you source an audit, but the auditor takes part of his fees and puts it into a bug bounty for a certain period of time. What does that mean? That means that if they miss a vulnerability and someone comes and claims it later, they will as well lose money on like their auditing job. So they basically share the risk with you, and they have to prove that they're confident in their work. So if they offer that to you, like, hey, I'm this confident in my work, I will like stake part of my fees into your bug bounty, you have a very higher level of trust to them. And yeah, you have as well the incentive of the auditor to stay engaged for the period they have locked in their money. Because even if something changes, yeah, like your project maybe as well leverage other technology. And let's say you use an Oracle and that Oracle changes their code. The auditor suddenly has an incentive to come to you and say like, hey guys, there's something changing here. Please check it out, what it means for you. And we think that this is basically how auditing should work. Yeah, like it should not be like this one-off thing where you do an audit and then buy and talk to you again in like a year when you need the next audit. But it should be like a trust relationship. The second model, and that is what we're doing personally in Hertz Finance, it's audit challenges or audit competitions. We personally run them in what we call the cutthroat model, which means you make an open call to auditors to come and look into your code before you launch it. And anyone can compete. So for us, there's like not even like a signing up, or you just need to have a Telegram handle and you need to have a wallet address, and then you can send in audit reports and POCs. And what we see is that regularly there's like more than 100 auditors competing in these audit competitions. So in our last, we had like 270 auditors that competed. And even though quality over quantity when it comes to auditors, but what we have seen is that if you structure the incentives right, you attract the right people as well. So if you say like, okay, only the first one who find a severity, a vulnerability, will get the reward, and you don't have to share it afterwards, then suddenly like these audit firms come in and they as well compete, and experts that are specialized exactly on your product. So if you're, for example, a bridge, and there's an audit competition for a bridge, then people that are really familiar with that will come in and compete. And so if you structure it right, there's no upfront cost for the project, and good auditors earn a lot of money, and the bad auditors walk away then like empty-handed. And I think this is really good, because there's a lot of auditors out there that are really good at writing beautiful PDF files. I don't know if you had that yourself, right? There's like, the audit is complete, you get this PDF, and it's like, looks amazing, but then you look into it and there's like 1 medium severity found and like 3 low or something like that. And I believe that this is not really what you want to get an audit for, right? You don't, like, we had an auditor who would ping us in Telegram and say like, hey, in line 27 in this repo, I found an issue, and this is the issue, this is how it works. And he didn't even compile an audit report in the end, and it was like the best thing. So we personally believe that it's more important to like get really the issues cleared out than like getting like a nicely compiled list. The second big problem that we see in the auditing market is it's actually pretty hard to be ethical as a hacker. So in 21, $3.4 billion were stolen in the whole DeFi market. In 22, actually, what's even higher is was, depending on the data source, it was 3.7 or $3.8 billion, which is amazing if you consider that all the TVL went down by a lot, hacks still went up. So we actually got less secure from 21 to 22. 23, let's see, doesn't look that bad yet, but let's see what happens. And only $10 million of bug bounties were paid out. So there's like a really, really big gap, and so there needs to be some kind of problem, right? So apparently disclosing vulnerability is way less attractive than stealing money. And the problem here is the Web 2 like process that we have in Web 3, because in Web 3, like all the funds are on chain. There's like offshore exchanges where you can launder stolen money, and so it's not easy, but it's not super hard either to, like, if you steal money, to wash it. And so how it typically works is you have a white hat hacker, and he requests a bug bounty from the builder. So he has information on the vulnerability, and the team has money they put up either on the website, or we do it on chain and say like, hey, if you want to give me the information instead of exploiting my project and stealing my money, I'm going to reward you. But for that to happen, the builder needs to have a look at the vulnerability, because otherwise he cannot evaluate if the information is actually legit, if it's a real vulnerability or just a spam report. And suddenly the builder realizes, wait a minute, now I have all the information I need, I still have my money, so what happens very often is, ciao, the builder becomes a ghost. And this is happening like on the regular. Like HackerOne did a survey, and 50% of the security researchers said they found a vulnerability and they didn't disclose it, because the project was hard to work with, unresponsive, there was no bug bounty in place, and or they just simply ghosted them, and the next time they said like, well, I'm not doing that shit again. So this is like actually so easy to solve, especially in Web3, that you just need like a vault or like an escrow, right, that is holding the money. So when the white hat hacker requests a bounty from the builder has to put the money into the vault before. And if the builder is then looking into the vulnerability information, they have the information then, but the money is already in the vault. So if the builder trying to become a ghost, what we can do now is we can say like there can be like some kind of arbitration service in place, right? So we have a decentral court that will look at what has been reported by the hacker, what has been the bounty program, and what has been the vulnerability. And if they decide like, wait, this was a real vulnerability, the white hat hacker should be rewarded, then they will make their ruling and the white hat hacker will get their money and will be very happy. So maybe you're a builder right now and you think like, okay, but why is this important to me? Yeah, I'm giving up control and I don't want to give up control. Yeah, like what is in for me? So actually, it's important that you get really like a level of security out of your bug bounty. So we need to increase the effectiveness of those bug bounties, and we need to attract more security researchers to hunt bugs. There are some groups out there that will never go down the ethical route. I think you all know them, like these North Korean state hackers, you know, like that are supposedly behind like these really big bridge hacks. And what we have to do is like, this is like a war between like black hat hackers and white hat hackers. And we need to make sure that we have on the white hat hacker side like the best people as well, so that the people that never will go down a good route can be like defended off. And so if we make the disclosure process more attractive, so they are not like, okay, I can either steal $100 million right now, or I have a 50-50 chance for like $200,000. But it's at least, you know, like either 100 million or 100% chance of like $200,000, then we already push the needle and make more people disclose. And in the end, it may shock you, but a lot of these security researchers actually are coming from like top universities in the world. Like it's the meme that they're like some 14-year-old kid in some basement might be true sometimes, but very often they just come from top universities and they want to have an ethical career. Yeah, they don't necessarily want to live in the shadows. And if we give them like a way to like earn really good money, then many will choose that way and will do that. Yeah. So this is my talk. It was a rather short talk. We can have some discussion now as well. I hope it was interesting. If you want to check out what we are doing, you can scan that QR code. And yeah, happy to like take questions, or if you want to share your experience in like selecting auditors or whatever, like super happy to talk about it. Yeah.
I guess my question is, so there's a need, we clearly see the need from projects to show the proof of attestation, the proof of stamp, so there was an audit. But is there really the push or the need for that audit to be quality, high quality for the project? Because in the end, if the project gets rugged or is exploited, what is the real what's the real outcome for the developers? Is there really something happening so that there's no need for them to do and spend more money on high quality audits, because all they need is just to attract the users, and the users are attracted by the vision of the security, right, rather than the actual security. So what's your take on that? How can we solve that?
So it depends a little bit what you want to achieve as a team. So if you say like, oh, okay, I launched this as an anon, if it like gets hacked and I lose all that money, I'm just going to spin up the next project, I don't give a damn. I think then it's problematic, and I think that we really need to call out auditors that do that. Like yesterday, again, someone told me like, hey, I can get audit from this project, from this auditor that has a high name for $5,000, and they will just give me the stamp of approval. And I'm like, bro, this cannot be like a real audit, like no way. And so I think in that case, we need to like make pressure on the auditors to do like real jobs, real work. By the way, the auditor, I have to live up to my own standard. The auditor is CERTIC, just if you were wondering, yeah. So I'm not a big fan of what they do right now. But if it's a project that is like builders that want to build a real product that is successful in the long run, maybe they are doxed, or at least they build up an unknown reputation that they want to keep in the long run, then I think we need to do some education, right? Like if you would be like some manufacturer of cars, right? you would buy insurance on your factory because you understand very well that if that factory burns down and it's not insured, your business is dead. There's no way of coming back from that. And in DeFi, it's the same thing, yeah? If you're getting hacked and you lose your user funds, it's super, super hard to coming back from that, yeah? Like, the Euler team might do that because they actually got like almost all of the money back and make the users whole. But still for them, it's an uphill battle. But I know many, many projects that didn't get the money back from the hacker because the hacker was actually, the Euler hacker seemed like very unsophisticated, to be honest, yeah? He acted in a very strange way. Maybe he's very young or something like that. But I know many projects that didn't come back like from the hack at all, so the project is dead. And I think that is what people have to start to understand, is that, yeah, like this happened once, your business is dead. Yeah. Any more questions, comments, ideas?
So I have a question regarding the first problem, the second solution. When you told that you should do a sort of an open quali for auditors to audit the project, do you mean that also audit companies should take part in these qualis? If you mean only independent auditors, what's the difference with bug bounty? That's the first question. And the second is, don't you think that the problem is, and the feature in audit is not to find as many critical issues, but not to miss the one that leads to a complete fund drainage? And I don't see why audit companies should join the open quali. For example, there are huge projects with good code quality, and why should they take part in the participation if there are no any bugs presented, but they will spend time?
Thanks. Okay, I try. Wait. So the question regarding. So first of all, this audit competition model, we believe that it should be happen after a real audit, like an audit firm audit, because we still believe that it's super valuable to have this design partner that will help you make architectural choices, will flush out the common issues, yeah. Actually, the competition model works best if actually there's less issues still in the code, because then each individual payout is higher. Like you have a pool of money and you share it between like the successful submissions. And so if there's like a 50K medium severity budget and there's like 100 submissions for medium, then it's less money than if there's 10. So and in terms of if you believe that like what is the value of like security firms or freelancer audits, it's that you only pay for like actual audit findings, and for you it doesn't really matter who that is, right? I mean, if you're sending in a POC and it's like, hey, this is how I can steal your money, then yeah, you're just happy that happened, and you don't really care. Sorry, I tried to remember all your questions. I think one question was, what if the code is really mature, right? Is it worth my time to look into it? So you have to understand that human auditors are just humans, right? Like we just finished an audit competition which was audited by Trail of Bits, like arguably like the best auditor in the market right now. And we had 3 high severities that got found that Trail of Bits missed. And every single of our, like, no, one not. Everything but one audit competition were done after an audit, and every single time we found issues. Like there was one competition where we didn't find a high, only medium and low, but even in the others, every time a high. So I think we have to accept that one audit is usually not enough. And yeah, I mean, if there's a competition and there's no issues back in the code, okay, that happened, yeah, then the security researcher didn't get paid for it for their time. That's the risk they have in the competition model. I think we have to openly say that. But most of the time they are getting rewarded. Sorry, what was the last question?
I think you answered everything
Okay.
that I wanted to hear. Thank you.
One thing, right now there's an incentive for projects to go into audits with shitty code, because most of the time it's, you know, like costs them the same if they go into the audit with shitty code or with good code quality. And I think this is as well an incentive we have to battle, right? builders should have an incentive to have always the highest code quality even before going into audit, because then the audit is more effective. And this is as well like what you can steer. Like in the competition model, you can like design the game mechanics very carefully. Like what is the kind of behavior you want to incentivize from the security researcher to act. And so, for example, if you cap the maximum payout and there's like only one high severity, then the project takes back the budget that is not used. So actually the project now has an incentive to come in with as less severities as possible, vulnerabilities as possible, because then the competition costs the least money.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
More questions, comments? You can tell me as well if the talk sucked, then, you know, like take the mic and tell me. I don't know. Okay. Huh?
What's the incentive for that?
Up there? No? Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Oliver.